Welcome back to part 3. In today's video, we will talk about how to select a computer, install 2 hard drives, Windows 10, and the Blue Iris software. We'll optimize all the settings for video recording and add our first camera. At the end, I'll show you just how powerful this system is and why they're better than any over-the-counter options, and especially cloud cameras such as Ring, Reolink, etc. Okay, let's choose our used Dell computer off eBay. These are computers left over from businesses that have upgraded or gone out of business. They're affordable, reliable, and most importantly, energy efficient. They're very configurable and easy to work on. Look for Intel 8th generation or Intel 7th generation, such as these computers. Some sellers allow you to configure the hard drive and RAM. Look for at least 8 gigabytes, but more likely 16 if you're going to use any of the AI features that we'll talk about later. And also a fast SSD hard drive of around 240 gigabytes to run the operating system. If you get a computer with an SSD already installed, that's the easiest option because Windows 10 will be installed as well. You'll either come with a software key attached to it, and if not, you can buy one off eBay, and it's around $14 for Windows 10 Pro. I've built systems both ways, but if you have questions in the comments about how to install Windows 10, just let me know. All right, so here we have our Dell computer. I'm going to show you how easy it is to assemble something like this. We have our surveillance hard drive. In this case, it's a 4 terabyte purple Western Digital. I have a tray to put it in. This is a faster SSD to run the operating system. More than likely, you're going to buy your computer with Windows installed on a hard drive, and they'll already have one of these in the computer. But I'm going to show you how to put one in if you don't. And we'll need a power cable for the hard drive, and this is a splitter so that we can run both hard drives into this computer. And I'll also show you how to do a quick RAM upgrade. This computer has 8 in it, and I'm going to install 16. That's also optional, but I just want to show since we have this open. Okay, with this Dell computer on its side, all we need to do is slide down on this lever, and we'll pull back, and that will slide off the side of this computer tray. Now inside here, this is a big area for one of these style hard drives, but we need a tray to put it in. And then below that, you may have a DVD drive, which there's no use for anymore. So I'm going to show you that you can use this area to put in your really slim SSD, or they'll already have that installed. To lift this out, we're going to just take these 3 plastic clips, push forward, and take the faceplate off. Then you'll slide here to unlock this tray. Okay, now let's show you how to put the hard drive in. So the hard drive goes on this tray, and it's going to clip in here. Okay, now that the hard drive is inside this tray, it will clip into place on this one. If you ever need to remove it, you press here and it lifts out. Now it's in there. Now we have room in this area to put in our operating system hard drive, the SSD. This one's going to store the bulk of the surveillance footage. This is going to run the operating system of the computer, and you can also use part of this drive for quick access to playback alerts. In this case, this is 240 gigabytes. And you don't need to go too big on this one if you don't want. All right, let's show you how to do the RAM upgrade. So currently this computer has 8 gigabytes. It has 4 here and 4 here. You'll see numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the order that you need to put them in. So we need to utilize those same slots. You always want to buy the same branded RAM. I could not mix this RAM with this RAM. It's not going to work, or it won't work well. So we're going to remove the old RAM. We can't utilize those anymore, and we'll install the new RAM. So this is 8 gigabytes. It's going to go in slot number 1. Press firmly till it clicks. You're supposed to have an anti-static little thing on your wrist, but I never do and I never have any problems. All right, your RAM is installed. Now this is the power cable to run a hard drive. We're gonna just plug it into your SSD. Now this SSD will have power, and maybe it's data, can't remember. I think that's data. This might be power. We need to split the power. So we have a splitter. I'll put a link in the video description for this splitter. And now we can run 2 hard drives off this same power port. But we need another data for the additional hard drive. Okay, to affix this hard drive into here, you can either just put it in, tape it. I'm gonna put some Velcro, or you can buy a tray, but I'm just gonna Velcro this real quick. It will catch the Velcro and it will be secure enough for our use today. All right, so we have our SSD installed, power and data. Now we need to give power and data to this hard drive. And now we're ready to put this computer back together. So that probably only takes about 5 or 10 minutes max. This post, it's gonna clip onto there, so you wanna clear the wires. And you want these tabs to go in here first. So slide the tabs in, clear the wires, click it in place. There you go. Now all we need to do is put the covers back on. We're going to catch these tabs in the front here. And then we'll slide our tray back on. All right, won't come off. And there's your computer. It's all assembled and ready for its first turn on. These computers will not come with a keyboard, a mouse, or a screen, but that's okay. You can easily plug it into any TV with an HDMI cable and make that your monitor temporarily. And most people have an old USB keyboard or mouse laying around, or you can find them for almost free at a thrift store or Facebook Marketplace, or you can even buy them on Amazon for around $20. Now we'll plug our computer in and get the power running, and it's going to boot up with Windows 10, and you have to go through the basic setup of a new operating system. Once that's complete, one of the first things I'm going to install is a software called TeamViewer, and it allows for remote computer viewing and management. This is free as long as you're not using it for commercial use. There's a lot of other ones available, so you don't have to just use this brand. With TeamViewer installed, I can remotely log into the computer from anywhere in the world and control it. I can control it from my comfortable Mac laptop at my desk, and I don't have to actually sit next to this computer. This makes things a lot easier, especially when you install something like this high up into an attic or locked in a server cabinet. You can remote into the computer and you never even have to access it locally. All right, next we're going to download and install Blue Iris. So we'll go to blueiris.com and you can download the software. If you don't have a key, which means you haven't paid for it, there is a free trial and you can try it out, but it's well worth the $80 and I don't think you'll regret it. All right, once we have it downloaded, we'll need to purchase the license agreement, which is a key, and all the features will begin to work and everything will be ready for setup once you buy that purchase key. Okay, now we need to download some software that will help us find all the different cameras on the network. So the brand of cameras we have here are mostly Amcrest, so I'll put Amcrest IP config tool. If you have Dahua, Axis, whatever brand, put their name in the IP config tool and let's download this. This is going to scan your local network and help you find the camera addresses, because sometimes they're not written on the camera itself or it's on the paperwork and you threw it away. All right, so that's downloaded. We'll open this up. And now it's going to scan our network and tell me all of the cameras on this network. Now, yours probably won't have this many cameras listed. It'll just have 1 or 2 because that's what you have plugged in. But this one has my full list of cameras here. All right, and this is the camera model I'm looking for. This is the IP address. What we can do is go into the login here, and we can actually change the password or the IP setting. But I'm going to show you something else. We're going to click here. It's going to open a browser to this exact camera. The default password for almost all of these cameras will be admin, all lowercase. This one has been changed already, and you do need to change these right after you set up everything. So I'm going to come in here. The first thing I'm going to do is go to Setup, and I want to go to Network, TCP IP. We want to make sure that we have static selected here. If it was DHCP, it would come up with a new address every time. I don't want it to do that, so I'm going to have static, and I'm going to put in the address that I want. In this case, 185. Have these written down. You can put a little notepad and you can have all of your different addresses written down. For example, something like this. Camera 1, 192.168.1.185. Camera 2. Etc. Your router is most likely 192.168.1.1. Sometimes it can be 10.0.0.1. But in this case, all of these cameras will need to be switched over. So it would have to be something like 10.0.0.185. But I prefer this. Okay, with that set, now we're ready to add this camera to Blue Iris. So I can minimize this and go ahead and open Blue Iris. Now your Blue Iris will be blank. In my case, it's loaded with cameras. But in order to add another camera, I'm just gonna right click and I'm gonna go to Add Camera right here. This will pop up. I can list it whatever I want. For example, driveway number 2. I want it to be an IP camera. You can enable audio if you want. Motion detection, and you definitely want this direct to disk recording, and you don't want it to re-encode. We'll hit OK. And now we need to go find that camera. So you can go find inspect and have a list of all of your cameras. And you can grab one of those, or if you know it by memory here, we can type it in. That's our camera. And now I'm going to put in the password. I'm going to choose generic OwnVIF. If you have a certain camera and brand, you can go ahead and select one of those, but this is your generic if you don't know the brand or the profile here. Okay, then I'm going to hit find or inspect, and it's going to verify that that camera is connected and it knows a little bit about it and what model, and I'll hit close. And it actually created a stream profile here, and it found that it was Amcrest and the model. I'm going to hit OK. And now I need to set up a few important things. My frame rate, I suggest that you set it at 10 or 15 frames per second. You don't need to go all the way to 30. It will double or triple your recording data. So I keep these down at 10 and 15. And I can also check that on the actual camera. So I would go to Setup again, Camera, Video. My encoding profile is high quality 2.64. It's the codec. Smart codec is off because that would be used if you had an NVR. My resolution is as high as possible. My frame rate is set at 15. Constant bit rate, and you can adjust the quality of that bit rate. And I double my interval of whatever frame rate. So if there's 15 here, you put 30 here. Now let's go back to Blue Iris. I need to bump this up to 15 frames per second. That matches what that camera is actually producing. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is go to Trigger, and we're gonna have motion sensor on, and you can go inside here and adjust all this, but I would just leave it to default initially. And I'm gonna go to Record, and I want it to record video when triggered or continuous. I prefer continuous. That way you don't miss anything. I would choose the pre-trigger record time to be 3 seconds. That way it will play a few seconds before it shows you what triggered it. And here is our camera added. Now this is the Blue Iris interface on the actual computer. I'm going to show you, once you get all your cameras added up here, you can actually close Blue Iris and it will continue to run. Okay, this is the setting for Blue Iris here. Let's talk about how I have mine set up. You have the name of your Blue Iris. This is your license key. Your name and email all need to be in there for this to be registered. The next tab is storage. Okay, let's talk about storage here. There's several ways that you can run this. What I prefer is to have my new footage coming in onto my fast SSD. So to do that, I would click here and I would find my fast SSD, which is the operating system. I'll go to Blue Iris, I'll click new, and I'll hit OK. Now I want to not fill that hard drive, but I want maybe 50 gigabytes of data to go to that hard drive before it starts pushing it to the slower hard drive. The stored is the slower hard drive, that's the D drive here, and that will carry 3,200 gigabytes. That's the really big hard drive, and I can check that by going down to here. It is the size of 3.26 terabytes, and it has some free space available, but basically majority of my data will go here. The alerts, you can have that also go to the faster hard drive. So I'll go to operating system, Blue Iris, alerts, and save them there. The purpose is every time I want to play back a clip that happened in the last half a day, it'll be extremely fast off of the C drive operating system or off of this folder. If you start pulling data from the D drive, which is the big surveillance drive, it will appear, but not as quick as that faster hard drive. Now, the downside is if you store a lot of data on your operating system over and over and over, the SSD is not designed for continuous recording, and it will wear out that hard drive faster than normal. And I would anticipate 2 to 3 years that hard drive will be toast, but they're like $20 or $30, so it's not that big a deal. Just make sure that you back up your Blue Iris file, which I'll show you here. You would go to export settings, and as long as you save this file on Google Drive, on a thumb drive, anywhere, you can re-import that file and it'll save all your Blue Iris settings and cameras and everything, and it'll be a lot quicker to set up in case your hard drive ever failed. Okay, let's go through every tab really quick here. Users, you can create all different people and you can make them admins or users. You can control when they can use the system, what cameras they can see, if they can control your PTZ motion cameras, things like that. The next one is the web server, and that's important for remote login, so you can watch your cameras from afar over your cell phone or things like that. And they have this great remote access wizard. You just go through all the steps here and it'll set you up. Startup is important because you want to run this as a Windows service. That means if I close this window right now, it will continue to run. And also if your computer loses power and starts back up, it'll run automatically. So make sure that is selected. Okay, now that you have all your cameras loaded, you can actually run your Blue Iris onto a web browser like this. So this is a web browser, and this is 5 hours away from this site. And I can see all the cameras here. I can click on this one and make it larger. And I can see all of the motion recordings that have occurred. And so this is all being done through a user interface, and it's being pushed data from the Blue Iris computer. Now that's what makes this so powerful, is that I can do this from anywhere in the world, and I can quickly zoom in and check on things. These are all the captures And if I press here, it'll go back 3 seconds prior to this recording, and then the van will drive by, and that will really help you identify things that you think might be important. And then this will have all the different dates, so if you want to go pick this particular day and see what was going on. Inside this interface, you can control the quality that's being streamed. So right now it's being pushed all the way to the highest quality setting, but you can also reduce that in case your internet can't keep up, and that will speed up and allow for better motion to be playing back. If you need the highest quality, you can go to JPEG HD, and it may be a little stuttery, but the quality and all the detail will be much better here. We can also check on our Blue Iris computer and see how things are doing. You can see the CPU is currently down at 17 to 26% while recording 6, 7, 8 cameras. And the memory is pretty high at 77. That's because this computer only has 8 gigabytes of RAM, so it would be advantageous to add more RAM to this computer here. I should bump this one up to 16. Our disk drive is at 96%. That's okay. That's because it is filled up with footage over the last month or two, and as it runs out of space, it will delete the oldest footage. There's tons of settings inside this user interface that you can play with here. Now, if you need to export a clip, you would click here, and this is playing back this clip, and I would right click, I would hit convert export, and you choose the quality, and you can also do a time lapse. I don't want to do a time lapse. I'll hit begin export, and now it'll start converting that footage because it's stored in a special format for Blue Iris to handle, and it's going to switch it over to a basic MP4 file. You'll be able to download it, and then you can do whatever you need to with it. So here's the clip now. Also within this interface, if you do have a PTZ camera, you can press different numbers and you can change your zoom and your locations. So these are presets. These are presets 1 through 10 right here. All right, so I think this video is becoming too long. We're gonna have to do a part 4. So please like and subscribe if you want to follow along. And in the next episode, we'll talk about how to set up your mobile phone or iPads to connect with Blue Iris. We'll give you a demo on AI and how it can object detect different things in the scene. And then we'll talk all about license plate recording, and that is a pretty cool feature to have. So please like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.